What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I am your host, Justin Harold, and with me, as always, my co-host, Jeff Santa. We are bringing you not so much a recap, not so much a preview, but just kind of talking about the Browns because it gets kind of boring when you're in this kind of slump week in and week out, and you come on here and you're talking about the game, and it's a loss, and you're a couple losses in now on a losing.
Boring is such a good word. Such a good word to describe
really,
how I feel.
It's really just like there's no anxiety because we'll get to it later on. But, talking about the recaps, talking about the previews, there's nothing really to review or preview for what we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, except for the Cincinnati game and previewing all the way up until this Houston Texans game, which we're one game away from. We have to go and play We have to play Tampa Bay at home, and we'll get to that. But really, at this point in the season, with everything that's happened, we're kind of just sitting here, kind of just waiting for Deshaun to come back. How much will that change? Who knows? Will it do the Browns a lot of good? Don't know if he plays all 11 positions on defense. Gonna have to wait till that week comes around to see if he does, though. And even though I'm being very pessimistic right now and saying that we don't really talk about the Browns a whole lot, it's funny because we just got done recording a couple hours ago a Cavs Encapsulated. And at the end of it, as much as you guys want to believe that Jeff and I probably don't talk about the Browns outside of this, we're still talking about the Browns outside of this. And the way it changes your mood is crazy. But I've gone long enough about all that. Jeff, how are you feeling as we record this 30 minutes before a Cavs game?
I'm feeling, there's nothing. Boring is, I'm just going to run with that because in prior years, regardless of since we started this, I feel like there was always something to talk about. Loss, big loss, close loss, win, big win. There's nothing to talk about this year. It's like, I don't even have an analogy to equate it to, but it's just it's literal insanity. It is the definition of insanity. If that quote, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, if that's an actual quote, if that's a thing, that's what we're doing. And so for this episode, I'm either going to be an extremely hot take or I'm going to be extremely safe. I'm not doing anything in the middle. So if you hear me doing something in the middle, call me out, but I'm keeping it. I'm not going in the middle. I'm right on the ends.
Very fair. And Jeff, obviously running with the idea of these games are just starting to get boring and predictable, you might say. Now, we're going to get to it, but Jeff is typically the one who texts me during games. I typically try to put my phone down for games. And I follow fantasy sometimes, so sometimes I'll pick up and respond. But when I'm watching a Browns game and when I'm watching a Cavs game, I'm typically not very responsive, depending on the night with the Cavs. But this Browns team is so funny because even my dad is like sitting in the living room and he's like, oh, look at that. The first drive of the game, we score. Can't wait for us to get to the 2-minute warning. And Jeff, with me not even texting him, not even, sending him a message that day or anything, he's texting me probably with 10 minutes left in the second quarter or 8 minutes left in the second quarter. He texts me, Jeff, if you could pull up the text messages really quickly. So this is at 2.
It was 5. I think it was 4 or 5 minutes before the half because we had the ball, or it was the last time we had the ball in the second half.
So 2:13, he texts me, here comes score before half, get ball out of half, and score for Buffalo. And that doesn't give you the timestamp on the right, but I'm pretty sure that text was probably no more than 10 minutes apart from when he sent that to me.
Yeah.
So he sent that at 2:13. The second text that says extremely predictable team came in at 2:26.
Yep.
And it's
every week.
It is. It's every week. It's like I can't even remember, and I don't even remember if I heard it or not. But did we win the coin toss? Do we actually?
I don't think so because they got the ball. They got the ball out of half. So I don't think Stefanski
You're
does
right.
that. I think I don't know. I don't remember, but usually when teams play us and they win the coin toss, they get the ball out of half because they know we're so bad. Other teams have to know how bad we are in the last 3 minutes or less in the first half. We are terrible.
Yeah, we're the best first quarter team, outscoring the Bills 7-3 in that first quarter, and then seemingly being the worst second, third, and fourth quarter teams. We gave up 10, the touchdown that Jeff is talking about right before half, 9 in the third quarter, which I don't remember. Did they come out and score right away at the
Was it 3
end or
field
at the
goals?
beginning? Yeah, I believe it was
Oh.
3 field goals,
But I
but I
mean,
don't remember.
you give up like 10 points, but in between the halves, basically,
Yeah,
because they score a touchdown, then they come out and get the ball, and if they score on the first drive in the second half, I mean, that's all the points we're going to score in the whole game sometimes.
yeah. Yep, and they scored 18 points in the second half, 10 points in the second quarter. Obviously, that gets them to 28 alone, which still would have beat us. But man, like I said, like we can go into the stats and we can go into individual players and whatnots in terms of the performances of this game. But there's no point to it. You know, we say it every time. It's like it's the same things every time about every player. We're just past that point in this point in the season. You're 3-7. Our buddy Logan, who only comes on for Cavs Encapsulated and Cavs stuff right now. Even he's like, do we even have a chance if we win out? Like winning out for the rest of the season, 7 more games, 1 game without Deshaun Watson. And that's the thought. It's like you have to win out, and it's very hard for any team to do that, especially when you have the problems that the Browns have. And that's probably what we're going to get into right now, because when you look from it from top to bottom, and another thing, we've talked about this before, top to bottom, it just doesn't feel like there's any leadership from a player standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, from a front office standpoint. I will give Andrew Berry his, you can't really ask Andrew Berry to do everything, because when you look at it, he's gone out, he's evaluated talent, he's tried to fill holes, he's tried to do things in the offseason.
Has he though? This last offseason though, did he try to fill defensive line holes this offseason?
Defensive line holes. I mean, obviously we re-signed Clowney, who you can always make the argument of, is that the right idea? Should we have gone and gotten 2 subpar defensive tackles and just gone and got a lesser DN than Jadavian? Who knows? But I feel like you look at it from just top to bottom, it's lacking in leadership. With the little credit that I do give Andrew Berry, and it's little right now, but I think overall it's good.
Right.
But it just doesn't feel like ownership. Doesn't feel like there's any leadership or any sense of accountability as of right now. The questions week in and week out. Now you're starting to get to the point where the players are starting to have longer quotes and everything, and stuff's getting taken out of contracts and whatnot, because you're 3-7, and you're still getting the same answers from the head coach, or from the head coach and coaches. Like, what are we to do, man? What are Browns fans to do at this point in the season, Jeff?
Well, that's why I said it's boring, because it's not even to the point where, sure, we could come on here and scream for 15, 20 minutes, easy, simple. That would be the easiest way to do it. But you already have missed the boat, because you're not supposed to beat Buffalo, regardless of where the stupid game is. You're not supposed to beat Buffalo. Preseason, you're not really supposed to beat this Tampa Bay team. You were supposed to beat New York. You had the New York game won. You were supposed to beat Atlanta. You had the Atlanta game, within your reach. Besides that, that's 2 wins right there that could have put you at 5 wins, and 5-5. It's like, okay, you lost to Buffalo. Who cares? You stole a game from Cincinnati, because we always play good against them. You lost to Baltimore. You beat Pittsburgh. I mean, imagine if we were 5-5. It's like, holy crap, we think we're on our way to the playoffs at 5-5, and we're at 3-7. So, and here's like I said before we started, here's the hot take, and I'm going out there. Kevin Stefanski is the best first 15 scripted play caller in the history of the National Football League. I've never seen anybody better. Not granted, we've only seen Browns offensive coordinators and head coaches, but even when I watch primetime games, nobody has the first 2 drives of the game scripted better than Bro. After that, he's
looking down at the play sheet.
He's like Freddie Kitchens after that. I don't even know what's happening. He just turns into like this Stonehenge of a coach. He's not even. The first 15 plays, he don't even need the paper because he knows what he's going to call. And it's like, trust me, from one fan who's been through all the slew of quarterbacks to another, Jacoby Brissett's season, his effort with us will not be forgotten in any time soon. I respect Jacoby Brissett. He's in a really weird situation. All the scandal, all the drama. Your season's coming to an end eventually. He's been nothing but the likable, good enough to win you football games quarterback, and I will not be forgetting that. So before we, talk about Tampa in our next video or whenever, I just want to give a thank you to Jacoby Brissett because I feel like you actually tried to care. You might not have fully, been accountable. Like, okay, yeah, you made stupid mistakes and then you couldn't fix your stupid mistakes. That did end up costing us some games, but you at least wanted to be the guy for as long as we gave you to be the guy. But besides that, it's not much. I mean, it's just people. I feel like it's performative. It's all performative. Like, I don't even really know if I buy Myles Garrett sitting on the bench. Like, that just seemed like a media stunt to me by himself. It's just me though. It's just me.
Yeah. I'm in complete agreement. I'll be interested to compare Jacoby's season when it's all, over and done with, and we can compare his, maybe we'll compare his 6 best games to Deshaun's 6 that he gets and everything. Sure. But very the stuff with Miles, the stuff with Kevin. Jeff, if you could do me the favor of rolling the ESPN Cleveland clip really quickly. We're going to take a look at this, and then Jeff and I are going to talk about it a little bit, and then we'll lead into the Tampa Bay talk.
This isn't unfounded. That's a perfect example of the moment being too big, and it's why you shouldn't be calling plays. There is no way you call those 2 plays. The most action I got on Twitter, Riz's Twitter yesterday, I said it was pathetic. The play calling in a critical situation like that is pathetic. And it's because your head coach has his head buried in a play sheet, and he's not coaching the game. There's no way those 2 plays should have been called. No way. That moment's too big, Kevin. Now I'm going to start pointing out specific instances where you can't coach your football team. I'm not just on the radio, mad, angry Browns fan. I got others coming when we talk to Tony Grossi. The moment's too big. Get your face out of the play sheet and start calling a damn football game, firing up your defense on the sideline like a head coach should. Enough of this. I've seen enough, and the Browns feel free to make any changes you want, starting right now. Right now. Enough. How much of this do we have to watch? You know how many Browns fans went to? You think this fan base deserves that? Come on, man. Come on. There were 25,000 people that went to Detroit to watch the game. It's an embarrassment.
Tony Rizzo, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Now, I'm on his Twitter, his actual Twitter that he was making, or he was alluding to, talking about, the most action he was getting in terms of interactions and stuff. The only thing I see is how on earth is he that wide open, really? Which is, the play calling at that critical moment was pathetic. This is at 3:01 p.m. So I'm guessing is it not the sneaks? Is it not the two QB sneaks? Which, listen, you can't really argue the QB sneaks because for me, Jacoby's been great at them all season. We've seen him get like 5 yards on a QB sneak at one point.
Sure. I agree with him elsewhere though. I don't really care what exact play call he's talking about, but it's like, sure, the fans don't deserve this. Like, obviously. Yeah, and that's also like, I mean, do we really like to be like to have that statement in general is like
we've gone through 0-16,
Sure.
1-13, and whatnot.
Sure.
However, I'm at the same point with Tony, and I've also tweeted at today. I don't know what the exact tweet was that I had it, quoted off of. But for me, it had something to do with like if what was the tweet? It had something to do with like if I'm so and so, I don't know if it was Andrew Barry the Hassles, but it was like I'm firing Stefanski and I'm calling Peyton or something.
Sean Payton, yeah.
Yeah. And listen, I don't know how many people agree with that. I don't know how many people disagree with that. I'm 50-50 on it. I could go either way. I think Kevin Stefanski is the best coach that we've had here since I've been born, since probably Bill Belichick when he underperformed here or whatever happened when he was coaching here. He's the best coach I've had here. Now, I agree with Tony on, the always, not, and he's not always like on the play call.
He is,
but I understand what he's getting at. But I just can't get behind a guy who the only time I ever see him get fired up is when they win.
Sure.
It's the post game. It's everyone's favorite. It's everyone's favorite when the post game Browns tweet comes out and it's after a win and it's Kevin for the 5 seconds in once a month he's gotten, I think right now, where he gets fired up and he gets energetic and you see a difference. It's like you see a completely different person because come to the post game press conference, sitting there cool, calm, collected, coming on a Monday after a win or a loss. It's the same thing. Day in, day out, nothing. The one really crazy thing in the span of 3 hours that has, and it's not crazy, but one of the things that I saw on Twitter was Zach Wilson, no injury, no nothing, and Robert Saleh in his second year as head coach is already putting it up as I'm not 100% that this guy is our starting quarterback going into next week.
Not getting the job done.
He's not getting the job done. Zach Wilson, whatever conversations you want to have about him, he's playing poorly, very poorly. Now, unfortunately, when your head coach is coaching poorly maybe, or he's not coaching the entirety of the team, which has been my conversation the whole time about why I would be on the fire Kevin Stefanski part of this argument. It's just he shows no football enthusiasm. Now, are the numbers so great that they're going to win us games? Maybe, but how far does that get you? How far does him as the head coach he is right now, Jeff, how far with Deshaun Watson, with whatever, how far realistically do you think Kevin Stefanski can go in this league?
I mean,
anywhere.
I think he could go far. It's just when are you going to stop with this taboo thing with professional sports where you just can't say the quiet part out loud? Just say it out loud. These people act like he's locked into this team for forever. You come out and struggle next year, you're gone. You might as well garner the respect of the fan base and just and I'm not saying every fan's a genius. Not everybody that tweets is, 1,000 football IQ. Not everybody with season tickets knows, they don't know everything about football, but it's 2022. Social media exists. Stop acting like the people are dumb. We're not stupid. We watch the games. We see the eyes. All 22 film is available. I could go on Twitter right now and find 3 guys in the Browns community minimum who do 60 or 70% of what the brain trust does in the Browns locker room and general management. Guaranteed. 100%. I'm thinking of them right now, 100%. Now,
breaking down film is not an easy thing.
It's not easy. And sure, if those guys were, actually elite at what if they were the top 1%, they'd be in the National Football League. I get it. I'm not saying that they're equivalent to what happens in the NFL, but it's 40 years ago in the 80s and the 90s, I don't have the all 22 5 minutes after the game ends. You have to stop. He coaches like it's the 80s. He coaches like it's the 90s. don't tell me what I want to hear. I already know what I want to hear. I'll go on and Twitter finger, and I'll tell myself what I want to hear in the deep recesses of my brain that, if we win this week and then Deshaun Watson wins out, blah, 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 whatever stupid shit, which is not going to happen, obviously, but I'll lie to myself. I don't need you to lie to me. But with that being said, he's the coach 99% next year, but you said the one name that would move him and him off the head coach, and my stamp of approval will be right on it. Because realistically, if you want to hear the best offseason for this front office, realistically, and put it in the comments, flame it in the comments, Sean Payton agrees to be our head coach. We keep Kevin as the offensive coordinator, and then we replace Joe Woods with Brian Flores. That's like the best offseason we could have.
That's the most.
Would you not be in for that?
Oh, I mean, listen, that sounds spectacular. That's like, God.
Besides that, Stefanski's the head coach, and the worst case scenario is that Stefanski and the brain trust talk themselves into, we need to get Joe Woods another year. We need to give and then Joe Woods is a defensive coordinator next year. That's the worst case scenario.
Is that the worst case, or everyone gets fired?
No, Joe Woods. Joe Woods staying
back here for another year.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario. Yeah, because move off of him and move off of Prefer, but it's like this is a Stefanski call. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know.
What do you think about? I know we're not even touching the Tampa Bay game as of right now, but what do you think of you're talking about the quiet parts of the game and everything, which is a lot of it is talking to the social media and everything. What do you think of them outright asking him hey, what do you think about firing Joe Woods in the middle of the season?
Ask it.
They did. They asked it today, and he's okay. I'm worried about. I'm more worried about us getting better for.
He's worried about continuity or whatever. Well, I mean, respect to whoever asked it. I will say that whoever asked that question, because I did not hear that. Mad respect, but. Of course, he probably has. I bet you half of his play calling sheet is probably play calls, and then the other half is just what he's going to say to reporters after the game. Oh, I'm not focused on that. I'm not focused on this. But it's like we all know Joe Woods has been bad this year. Just say it. It'd be one thing,
Prefer too. Prefer's been. The problem is the digression. It's not even. Regression back into being bad like we were in 2020, 2021. We are at an all-time new bad. When we're done with the season, and obviously 17 games, we'll take out the worst game or something, or I don't know. But we'll go back and compare the points allowed for the past 2 seasons or 3 seasons. I guess we're only going to have to do it for one season, 16 games, 17 games for the past 2. But I'm going to say the points allowed are going to be at least worse than last year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But it's like if you had a valid excuse and you had, you knew what you were talking about. But if you could convince us, if you could just kind of put it underneath the rug and be like, oh, Joe Woods really isn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
You've been able to do that. You've been able to kind of hide him in the back, a little bit of last year and definitely the season before.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the first 8 games last year, because that was our fault. We gave him a pass last year. And, we got all these new pieces. Let's give him a pass for 8 games. But it's like you're not – as soon as you lose your leverage of being able to trick people as far as Stefanski's, game plan and his MO, he don't have anything. He's like a straw man. He's a figurehead. I don't even know what he does. He doesn't tell you the truth. What happens at halftime? He doesn't tell you the truth. He calls the plays. Does he talk to any of the coordinators? Do the defense and the offensive players talk to each other? Does anybody or do team meetings have, you got to be here on time? What happens in the building in Berea during the week? I have no idea.
Well, obviously we have Thanksgiving this week. It's going to be a weird week. We're going to hop into Tampa Bay, which is not even going to be a long thing personally, but we are just going to get it out of the way for this. Tampa Bay won the last 2 games, have Tom Brady coming off of a bye week. Those are my 3 key points for this preview because I have this as a loss. And I'm just going to say 24-17. It's going to be like a frustrating single touchdown loss.
Tom Brady owns us. We haven't shown any potential to garner home field advantage ever in the last 2 years at least. So yeah, I'll go loss. Because the funny part about a loss is that for the storyline, because if we lose, it's going to be like, what's the point of playing Watson the whole next 6 days? So I know we're going to lose because of that. Yeah, probably like I don't know. Their offense has been better. Their offense isn't like this elite offense it used to be, but it's still good. We'll make them look good, and if they want to run the ball with
Leonard Fournette, will look like he's back in his rookie or second year.
Rashad White, they got a couple guys down there. Sure. I'll go 27-17.
Tom Brady will look like he's like the old version of himself going to win a Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. I got at least 2 roughing the passer calls where we're overzealous and take a couple more, a little extracurricular and then just flags out,
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, if you made it through this video, we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear where you're at 3-7 with this season and how you're feeling. What are we to expect? What are we to expect from Chemist Fantasy? What do we expect from the players? What are we to expect from the GM, from the head owners, from anyone in that Browns organization? Once you guys are done doing that, leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. We do other stuff. We do cover the Cavs. We will continue to cover the Browns. We will continue to cover the Browns. But yeah, make sure you guys are still tuning in with us, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.